Okay, Jim. Well, I want to get reports from you there. I need to make sure my producer gets your hotel number. Are you going to have a cell phone, or should I get a hold of you also if I lose track of you through the newspaper?
Yeah, you call the newspaper, and I think our website has my complete itinerary on it.
Okay, well, when should I have my producer nail down times to have you report live for little 10-minute reports for us on that Thursday and Friday?
Let's see, I guess maybe if you give me a call in Lula Mini on Wednesday, by that time I'll probably have contacts set up, and quite often in recent years we've had good sources inside who would be tarred and feathered and strung up if they were identified, but they sometimes will call me by prearrangement on a secure telephone, and other times we meet at obscure places and pretend we don't know each other. I'm reading a newspaper, he's reading a newspaper, and we're talking. So once I get a better handle on when I have to meet these people, then we can figure out a time for you and me to talk.
Absolutely, just so long as we do get you on each day, if it's even for 10 minutes, to give us the latest intel, because you'll hear it here first, folks. The information coming out of Bilderberg, 98% of the time they're able to get their agenda through. Just like a couple years ago in 2007, Jim said George Bush is going to come out and endorse man-made global warming and carbon taxes, and everybody didn't believe it. And 2 weeks later, George Bush came out and embraced it. And that was the Bilderberg that Governor Rick Perry treacherously, illegally under the Logan Act, was attending. Man, time flies already into May, and they're meeting in May, there in Greece. Jim, any other intel ahead of this year, concerning what they're planning and what's on their agenda?
Well, as American Free Press readers know by now, they also plan to exploit the so-called swine flu, hoping to scare the drugs out of everybody. And again, although they seems to be petering out the swine flu, thank goodness, but they were hoping to use that as a vehicle to scare people into accepting the World Health Organization as a sort of a World Department of Health and Human Services. Again, another major surrender of sovereignty on the part of all European and North American nations.
In fact, Jim, they've been saying that. They've been saying this is good for globalism, good for the global community, good to have the UN in control of the regions.
Yes. Oh, well, in fact, I said North America and Europe, but now that includes South America, and, of course, through the Trilateral Commission, the Asian nations, too, including, although not directly, Red China.
Now, Jim, final question, and we'll check in with you one more time next week before you leave town, and then once you're there, we're very thankful for your time. Jim Tucker, specifically, Estelin's on record in Endgame and in the Obama deception that he has two Bilderberg members that are contacts. You say you go and meet with these people. I know when the Independent Film Channel crew was with you, you were being followed, you were being chased, security services, you had to go into bazaars and through alleyways to shake them to meet your contacts. Are you generally meeting, I mean, this is already out there, but I'm curious, do you have Bilderberg contacts, or are your contacts the Secret Services?
I can't go much further than that, otherwise I'd implicate some very important people and lose their services. I can tell you that one of my favorite contacts, he's especially good at finding out where they'll meet, is someone who deals in international finance. He enjoys, it's helpful to him personally to know what Bilderberg's up to because of his business. He knows them well enough so that he can have casual conversations with certain ones and determine the meeting place and the dates, as he did this year and for several years in the past. But again, if I got closer to identifying him, it could blow the whole thing.
No, I know.
In fact, for a lot of years, I would negotiate with sources of how much, well, I can describe them. Okay, a man about 40 years old, 6 feet tall, 180 pounds, wears a business suit. But then one of our readers, who's a retired law enforcement criminologist, sent me a letter saying that if Bilderberg's willing to backtrack, is the way you describe your sources physically, they could still nail the guy. So we explain to the readers that we don't do that anymore. You'll not know if the source is a girl, boy, fat, skinny, young, or old, because I don't want to...
Exactly. But, I mean, it's quite remarkable to know that there's 2 Bilderberg group members that don't like what it's doing out of 140 members or so.
Well, it's not without precedent. Lady Thatcher did not.
Tell you what, Jim, let's do one more segment. Stay there. You got a 4-minute break. We'll come right back to you. One more segment with Jim Tucker, then your calls. It's Home Game. And that's spelled HOMEGAIN.com. HOMEGAIN.com. You can go there for free, find out how much your house is worth, how much it's listed for. They've been around for 10 years. I'd used this service before I even got them as a sponsor when we were moving a few years ago. And they have a home sale maximizer that tells you the least expensive repairs to do to your home or upgrades that'll give you the best resale value. Just an amazing site, HOMEGAIN.com, homegain.com. That's HOMEGAIN.com. Or click on the Infowars.com banner. It's Mac's Little Orange Gorilla. I'm not joking, folks. He runs out there and every break and smokes cigarettes. I tell you, he is certainly an old-timer, to say the least. I tell you, folks, somebody left something out in the office, and there's fruit flies all over the office. And they keep landing on my face, and it's driving me crazy. I've killed 2 of them since we've been live the last 25 minutes, and I'm going to kill the rest of them, but I may have to be. I'm like King Kong in here, and they're like, nyeh. As soon as I put the fly swatter down, they come back into the area here. Jim Tucker is a real treasure, folks. He has trouble walking, got hip problems and stuff, but he always still goes out there and marches all over through the summer sun, wherever he's at, to get the story. Hey, Jim. Got one. Hey, Jim, you there? He's still on. Okay, I heard you open your mic up, so I thought he might have been there. Another one. One of his compatriots just attacked me and crashed in my face as I killed one of the others. Folks, we're under attack. New World Order attack. These are probably programmed to. That's a joke. I try to have gallows humor here, as one listener said, but there really are fruit flies in here. I can now fan myself. Oh, I'm David Rockefeller. Except David Rockefeller wouldn't fan himself. In fact, one of you come in here while I talk to Jim and fan me. Fan me with the fly swatter. All right, let's get serious. Go back to Jim. Jim, that was a 6.5-minute cigarette break. This is a short segment, so we only have 3 minutes left with you. But getting serious, Jim, you were finishing up your point about Margaret Thatcher. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. She attended one meeting of Bilderberg and never attended another one. And I learned that Bilderberg had decided to punish her and get her thrown out of as head of state, as prime minister of Britain. She was replaced of her party by son of a trapeze artist, John Major. And, of course, I forgot who it was within her own party who succeeded her as prime minister. And I had the pleasure of talking briefly with her at a reception in Washington a couple of years later and asked her about it. And her response, I quote it directly, I can roughly paraphrase it now, that she considered it a tribute to be denounced by Bilderberg and spoke harshly of any head of state who had surrendered any sovereignty to an international organization. And she was very harsh in her condemnation of Bilderberg. And for her, I had a great deal of respect.
All right. Well, Jim Tucker, they're openly announcing world government all over the news, saying it's the solution to the banking crisis, a new global banking authority to set tax rates, interest rates, currency rates. What is it like to have this 35-year journey of exposing the New World Order and now have them just admitting it everywhere and calling for bills like H.R. 1966 that will charge you with a felony if something you say hurts someone's feelings?
They taught us in law school that the court has no remedy for hurt feelings. So that's why this god-awful hate crimes bill is such a monster. It punishes you for, in terms of the federal thought police, loose on all the streets of America, when every state harshly punishes violent crime. Now, whether you beat up the old lady because you wanted her money, or also you hate fat people. Doesn't matter. You've beaten her up. You've stolen her money. You go to jail for 30 years. Kill her. You get fried. In fact, those three thugs who dragged that aged Negro man to death in the back of their pickup truck down in Texas, they're on death row. They're afraid to die. They'd much rather be charged with the federal hate crimes law because the federal hate crimes law does not allow capital punishment. The state of Texas is going to hang them.
Absolutely. And, Jim, just because you're a news reporter, you may not know about this new bill we just discovered, H.R. 1966, the Cyberbullying Prevention Act, is worse. It just says if you hurt somebody's feelings, federally charged. You don't, I mean, this is, if they just say their feelings are hurt. Jim Tucker, we'll talk to you next week before you go to Bilderberg. We'll talk to you at Bilderberg. The book is Jim Tucker's Bilderberg Diary. Talk to you soon, brother.
Very good. Bye.
Thank you for the time. We'll come back with your call straight away, I promise.